Hey, this is Kevin Carr, CEO of Protesty. On today, I'm talking about a major issue in the professional sports and entertainment world, mainly entertainment this time. What if the Will Smith, Chris Rock slap happened at work? Would someone be sued? Would someone be fired? Would someone be suspended? Well, it depends. I'm coming to you from a place of a professional development expert in human resources as well as organizational transformation. I lead a company called Pro CEO, and we basically work on transition is our full mission. It is what we about. We try to help people make successful transitions from one industry to the next, or help them transition their skills, or help them transition their workforce. So when I look at this, I say, first of all, I don't know Chris Rock. I don't know Will Smith. So I'm coming from a place of over the years. I've seen their body of work though, and I think both of them have been amazing to see where they started, humble beginnings, to hear their stories, and to watch them now really at the top and pinnacle of what professionals do in their industry. When you look at the body of work from beginning to now, it's short of amazing. So they, in some sense, should be celebrated because they do represent a space and time where they have really overcome and done a lot of good and told a lot of great stories through the work that they've done. And it's really brought a lot of success, a lot of really epic proportion, great things that have happened in the entertainment industry for both of them. So kudos to them on that. This incident, though, you're talking to someone who's dealt with a lot of professionals who have been in high level places. I've dealt with some of the most elite athletes in the world and their organizations, and it is not easy being at the top of an industry and being looked at and being said this and that about what you do and what you don't do. So it brings on a lot of stress. People don't see you often as human. They don't often see your issues and problems because they can't. So what they see is what gets reported or what's said, and what behind them, behind closed doors, we don't know. So out of respect of totally knowing and only guessing, I'm not going to come from that place. I can only surmise that it's really hard to be each of those gentlemen. So this incident happened, and certainly what was said was not taken well. What was done obviously was not, in my opinion, should have happened to the degree at all. Could have been handled in another way. So for me, I wish nothing of this proportion would ever had happened. Unfortunately, it did. I wish cooler heads would have prevailed, and it would have been handled a lot differently. But because it can't, and because it wasn't, we had what we had. We saw it play out in front of us on TV, live TV, and now we have a real issue, or continue to see where this goes. There's been all kinds of things that happen to Mr. Rock being able to express himself in due time. Mr. Smith at this time has issued apologies, both of them, and we'll see how this things unfold. So we as people who look into these industries like entertainment, like sports, like very powerful people, whether they're in your cities or states or at the top of government or internationally, these things are of interest because they now are out there and everybody can see. So I want to use this really to talk to those who are in the workplace, who go to work every day, who have a job where they interface as a company and they're going to be talking to customers, whether you're in a professional business environment, corporate, large company, or a very small company, and you interface with people. You maybe one day something like this could happen to you. So I'm coming from a place of, what if the Will Smith and Chris Rock incident happened at work? And I would say, what would you do? What if you're the person who gets hit? What if you're the person who delivered the hit? What if you're the supervisor of the two people? What if you own the company in which those two people? What if you were part of the group that has to hand down the decision as a board? What would you do? Like, really? Because this is something that we don't often think could ever happen, but this is sort of what someone would call assault, someone would call battery, and I'm no lawyer. I am a human resource specialist, expert, have a master's in that space, and I've studied some of this in my graduate work. So I'm not coming to you knowing every bit of legalese, but I do in my work research. So I went out to the World Wide Web and searched, had this ever happened? And you can do it too, just someone being slapped at work or someone being hit in the workplace, what happens? And I found some interesting things. So in particular was an international case, one in particular where there was a longtime employee hit by an employee who wasn't there as long, and the one who hit them really was the aggressor, and they were tired of the person who had been there longer, and a longer tenured person really was someone who really reported and said, you know, what was going on at a period of time, and then it came to a head, and that person who was the aggressor, the shorter tenured person, actually hit the person who had been there longer. And guess what happened? The employer decided to actually fire the person who got hit. And you're like, what? Yeah. A person was hit because the organization weighed the option, which one was potentially more valuable to them, which one would have lesser trouble if they let them go. The person who was longer tenured had a lesser senior position, so they let that person go. Well, that person countersued, actually got back some retribution, and from there the company basically had to pay that person because they were in the wrong. So you would think, yes, the person who actually did the hit should be fired. In that case, it was not the case. Now, the next incident, went out to the web again, searched and said, yo, what happens, what else could happen? Well, there were two employees. One was more of an aggressor than the other one. That one hit the other one. And guess what? The one who did the hit this time actually got fired. But what happened was, when it became a case, because the person countersued for the time they were let go, they were let go about 4.5 months. They wanted their wages back as a result of that being let go and their job back. And what happened was this. It was found at fault by the company, not the person who made the slap, and not the person who got hit. The company was at fault. And the company actually did proactive measures to educate their employees in the workplace and said, hey, you cannot do any physical harm to anybody in the workplace. So what was ruled in a court was that the person got their job back, because even though the company did educate, and the company had a right to say basically you shouldn't do this, and they educated you beforehand in terms of what happened, they also did a deeper dive with the company, and what was found in a court was that the company did not do enough to help their employees. They did not do enough to educate them and prevent them from possibly doing this. So in the first incident, you see someone who actually laid the hit actually didn't get fired. The person in the second incident actually laid the hit, got fired, but actually got their job and salary back as a result of doing this. So think about this. It's not always what you think could possibly happen to you. It's not just expected that this would automatically, hey, if you lay the blow, you're going to be totally in trouble and you're going to be the one. So what does this mean to employers, people who own companies? If you have a small consultancy, you go out in the marketplace, you have an issue with someone, you put your hands on them, you could possibly obviously lose in that sense, but also means you could possibly sue someone if in that space, if they didn't provide the proper education and training and development to their staff, if you ran into an issue. There's a lot of complications here. And once again, let me preface, I am not a lawyer, but what I will say is to this reinforces the fact that anything can and will happen as professionals. We saw this incident with Chris Rock and Will Smith. No one would ever predict that could have possibly happened, but it did. So the same I would say to you. short of an assault and battery at work, which, I'll leave that to the lawyers here who might see this to really truly define, you would think that this wouldn't happen, but it could possibly happen. So what I want people to know here is to be very, very aware that you cannot take for granted the expected outcome. You have to be very, very careful to not put yourself in a position, because we don't know, based on what I just told you, what could possibly happen to you. You could automatically think, hey, I'm going to be fine, I'll recover, I'll just sue, and that's not the case in this. So what I would say is, always as a professional, try to go and handle this before it becomes a major issue. If you have someone that you're working with in the professional environment, you have issues, they have issues with you, you have issues with them, go to a supervisor, let someone know. If it begins to get escalated and heated, put it in writing, put it and define it, what it is and what it isn't, and let those in proper authority handle it. If it gets to a point where at least it's gotten really heated, at least you have some evidence and proof. We don't ever want to see the most extreme circumstances where people come in and do the most heinous things you could ever imagine. We don't ever want it to get to that in the workplace. So what I'm saying, if you're having stress or pressure or being pressured, go to the proper authorities, go to the proper supervisors, take the time that you need to do that, and don't let it get to a point where it escalates and you get heated and you do the unimaginable or unthinkable. And if someone is bothering you at work and they are the aggressor, you need to let someone know before someone actually takes matters in the wrong way, in the wrong hands. So what if it was you? What if you were the one that did it? What if you're the one that received it? We hope that never happens. I'm saying to you, prepare for the unexpected, be proactive, so this incident doesn't ever happen to you or anyone you know, and educate yourself on prevention. So I'm coming to you as a professional who deals with conflict, sometimes deals with organizations that sort of are stuck, organizations who need transformation, and I'm saying this could possibly happen. We don't want it to happen, so do whatever you can as leaders in your workplace to make sure this doesn't happen. Do whatever you can as employees to make sure you don't get too heated where you can't function properly and do the job you were hired to do, and that's not to have conflict at work, but to perform at a high level at work. There you have it. That is it. That is my professional tip and opinion. What if the Will Smith, Chris Rock incident happened at work? Would it be sued, fired, suspended? I had opinion, and like I said, well, it depends. And now you know what the depends is, and now you know what to do, hopefully, to be better in the workplace and be excellent at what you do. Until next time, Kevin Carr, Pro the CEO, keep building, and transition is our mission, and keep being successful in whatever is next that you plan to do.